All right, so let's get started. So we just need some blocks today. And, oh, I did forget to do one thing. Go. Okay. So many buttons, so little time. All right, so we'll start sitting in Sukhasana with the crossed legs. And using those arms alongside, lengthening up, getting space between the vertebrae, spacing hip sockets, shifting and squinging in the hips. Anywhere else you want. And then slowly release with the arms, landing on the sitting bones. Hands resting on the knees. And a big inhale and exhale. Letting go of the rest of the day. Being here now in your body with your breath. Things slow down a little bit. Not only balancing that effort and ease in your body, but in everything else going on in your life. And then let's reach out wide through the collarbones, through the fingertips. Inhale and exhale, breathing those arms up. Inhale and exhale, breathing them down, taking up lots of space. And once more. And letting the hands rest on the knees again. Let's circle those shoulders up the front, down the back. You can let the whole spine get involved there. Really getting into your shoulder joint. Or maybe it feels better to do it a little more isolated. And of course, my favorite option, both. A little of each. And then we'll circle the other direction. And we'll finish with the front to the back and twisting to the right. Inhale, lots of space. Exhale, twisting into the space. And then we'll take the half binding, reaching back through that right arm, and then feeling that roll out with the right shoulder as we wrap the arm around. Reaching for the left hip joint as far as you can. Inhale and exhale, spiraling even more into the center and out the top of the head. Trying to keep the collarbones wide, the shoulders down and even. And unfurling that, changing the cross of the legs. And we will twist to the left. Inhale and exhale, taking a few breaths in the usual sort of twist. Then reaching back through the left arm, shoulders doing a rolling out even as we turn the lower arm in, wrapping that around toward the right hip. Trying to feel both shoulders rolling out a little more, collarbones wide, spiraling in and out and up the top of the head. And coming back to the center, coming forward. Inhaling and exhaling, breathing into the back of the body. And then coming up, unfurling the spine vertebrae by vertebrae back up on top of the sitting bones. Everything settles into place. And let's slide the legs out in front in Dandasana. Lifting up from behind with the arms coming forward. Push with the hands. Have the hands on the legs or the floor. Lengthening the backs of the legs along the floor. Pulling out from the lower waist, lengthening out the lower back. Making whatever compromise seems better for today. If needed, a little less forward or maybe a little bend in the knees. And coming up. And let's breathe those arms up, interlocking the fingers, give a pull with the elbows, grounding down through the sitting bones, pressing up through the hands, reaching long through the heels. Same sort of shape as downward facing dog. Breathing here, keep getting longer through the base of the hands and through the heels, A little more anchored down into the floor. And releasing the hands. And let's come up and downward facing dog. Adho Mukha Svanasana. And walking the dog or anything else you want to do. And then finding the best downward facing dog you can do at this moment. Nothing moving but the breath. Inhaling up to the sitting bones. Exhale, pouring down the backs of the legs. Coming down, sitting back in child's pose. And then expanding back up to downward facing dog. And let's lengthen forward to the plank, pulling the shoulder blades back to the sitting bones and out the heels, long and flat along the ceiling. Lots of work there in the legs. A little feeling of cat back in the center and then flattening that as much as you can. Wide across the collarbones, wide across the upper back. And then we'll just sort of ease ourselves right into upward facing dog with the knees touching down. Pressing the tailbone down, pressing the upper back a little bit. And let's bend the knees, reaching the heels toward the upper back. So if your wrists are giving out, you can do this in the Sphinx on the forearms. And then we'll straighten out the legs and pulling yourself back into child's pose. And expanding back up to downward facing dog. Really pressing back through the legs, and then that pressing back presses back so much, you walk the hands back to the feet, into the forward bend at the back of the back. Inhaling and exhaling. Taking a few breaths here with the bent knees if needed, or with the straight legs. And if you've got your feet right together, you might want to do the hip distance 2 inches or 3 or maybe 1 apart as we get hold of the elbows. So only doing this if your lower back and hamstrings are all right with it. Holding the elbows Maybe a little swaying side to side there. Finishing with that, releasing the arms, coming up to standing, big front body yawn. Resting those arms down, long through the top of the head. Let's circle the shoulders again 3 times. Up the front, down the back. And going the other direction. And then we'll take one more front to the back to interlock the fingers behind. Lengthening up the front of the body to lift the chest, to lift the chin. And coming forward, pressing out through the hands to counterbalance. Release the hands, concave back, halfway up. Folding over and walking out to downward facing dog. And then through the vinyasa, any version you want. So that thing we did first, right to upward facing dog onto the bent knees, that's a version of the vinyasa. All right, and then we're all back in downward facing dog. Let's lift the right leg up, reaching long through that right heel. Bending the knee dog at the high fire height. And through to the lunge. Making that left leg very strong, and we will twist to the right. And then pressing that back of the right arm away, we'll have finding the right arm. Reaching it around, sliding the back of the hand however far it will go across the left hip. Pulling the shoulders rolling out, pulling the front of that right shoulder open even more. And then releasing the right arm to the floor, turning to the elephant rider, feet on the diagonal, pressing those knees out. And let's slide. So just shifting over toward the left leg, the back of the mat, straightening your right leg. And then sliding across to the right leg. So unlike the low side lunge, we're not trying to go particularly low here. And back to the center. And keeping the legs rotated out, let's straighten up into the forward bend. And then turning back to the right lunge where we came from. And Jayasana, bringing that left knee down, coming up, kneeling lunge. And bringing the arms down to interlock the fingers behind, rolling the shoulders back, lifting the chest a little more. And then we'll bend the elbows, taking the hands over to the left hip. So we've essentially made the half binding with the right arm again, releasing the hands and taking just that left arm up. And then hands around to Namaste. Namaste into the floor. And let's step forward into the concave back, halfway up, folding over. Deep breath. Coming up to standing, big front body yawn. Pressing those arms down and around to Namaste in front. Inhale and exhale, Namaste, steadiness. And coming over, big lift up into the front body yawn and diving over. Concave back, halfway up, folding over. And then we'll jump or step back, vinyasa, downward facing dog. And then heading around on the left, lifting the left leg up. And bending the left knee, dog at the high fire hydrant. Through to the lunge. And making that right leg nice and strong, and we will twist to the left. And then pressing that left arm away and wrapping it around in the half binding. Rolling the shoulders out. And then just taking the left hand to the floor to turn to the elephant rider. Stretching out those inner thighs. So the sliding thing works best with the feet a little wider. So maybe as you might be able to see, it's a general principle in the elephant rider. We're going for more or less heels under the knees. They could be a little closer in, they could be a little further out. And then the slide a little further out usually works a little better. As we slide over toward the right leg, the back of the mat. And then sliding across and over to the left. And back to the center. And keeping the outer rotation as we straighten the legs into the wide leg forward bend, a variation thereof. And turning back to the left lunge. toward the front of the mat, and then we'll bring the right knee down, coming up in GentleVinyasa. And then we'll interlock the fingers behind. And bending the elbows and putting the hands over by the right hip, right hip. So we've got a half binding with the left arm, releasing the hands and bringing the right arm up. And to Namaste in front. And into the floor, stepping forward. Into the concave back, halfway up. Folding over. And coming up to standing, big front body yawn. Pressing the arms down, around to Namaste in front. All right, let's take a tree pose. If you want to hold on somewhere or go near a wall, just sort of hedge your bets doing that. So I'll be the mirror here. And we will, so in theory, we're standing at the front of the mat, but going where you need to. And then we will bring our right leg up. And really reaching down through that left standing leg, pulling the abdominal muscles a little in and up, engaging the gluteus maximus, strong center, strong post to stand on. And then we'll bring that right leg down. Inhale and exhale, balancing on 2 feet for a moment. And then we'll bring the left leg up. And something else that can be helping with our balance is our breath. That inhale, exhale, strong into the center. Inhale, a little more spaciousness. Exhale, strong center. And the breath also steadies our mind and our focus. And then bringing that left leg down. Balancing on 2 feet. Here we are at the front of our mat. And coming over. Big lift up. And diving. Concave back, halfway up, folding over through the vinyasa, downward facing dog. And let's lift the right leg up. And dog at the high fire hydrant. through to the lunge. And warrior number 2. Making sure that right knee tracks over the foot, a little reach back through the left arm. And then Parsvakonasana. So really reach out with the right arm, pull that right crease of the hip joint a little more down and back into Parsvakonasana. Any version you want here. And then let's take that left arm around into the half binding, rolling the shoulder out. Maybe going down lower, sliding the right arm down the inside of the leg. And going to the full binding, taking the right arm under. But just the left arm is fine. Now the hard part, we're coming back up to standing. Inhale and exhale, letting that go, expanding up, bringing the arms up overhead. So we haven't moved our legs, but feel kind of three-pointed star for a moment, even with our right leg still rotated out. And then we'll hinge over into the triangle Trikonasana. And reaching that left arm over the ear, try to feel like your left outer hip pulls back a little. And then coming down and stepping back to the plank. And let's hold that plank. 4, 3, 2, and 1. And then we'll lower to the floor by any means. Maybe you're going to chaturanga or kneeling chaturanga. Maybe just coming down into the small cobra once you get there. And coming down. And bringing the arms forward into the Sphinx. Pulling back with the elbows, getting everything nice and evened out. And then we're going to do that contract like you're lifting up into the cat back. So pulling the elbows, feel like you're pulling the elbows back and you're pulling the knees forward as you contract. So really feel into the abdominal muscles here. Bringing yourself up. So there's probably not much of a genuine cat back there, but trying. And then lengthen out. So this is one of those things where you are responsible for doing that work and not just sort of hinging up and picking your hips up. All right, here we go. Let's do that twice more. So moving slowly. Feeling that whole spine, all the parts of the core like we do in the cat back, but we're feeling from the contract on the front of the body more than the round and open the spine on the back of the body here. And lengthen it out. So this is also one of those things, the better you get at it, the harder it gets. Let's do this once more. And then lengthening out to the space. Maybe there's a little lift in the elbows or adjusting your hands if you want to have a more spacious cobra. And coming down. Deep breath. And then we will peel ourselves back up to downward facing dog, maybe an actual cat and cow ripple in there. Whew. And then there we are, downward facing dog. And we'll do our things on the left. And let's lift the left leg. Then bending that left leg, dog at the high fire hydrant. Coming through to the lunge and warrior number 2 on the left. Reaching back with the right arm, pulling forward with that left inner thigh to inner knee over the front. And then reaching into the side angle, pulling that crease of the hip joint down and back to reach out with the left arm into any version of the side angle for a few breaths, feeling what's going on with you today. Maybe sliding that left arm down the inside, taking that right arm to the half binding. And maybe to the full binding, reaching the left arm from underneath and inside. And then coming up to standing. Inhale and exhale, expanding up. Keeping the legs where they are, bringing those arms up like the three-pointed star. And then reaching out into the triangle, Trikonasana. And reaching that right arm over the ear, reaching forward, pulling back with that right outer hip. And pulling down, stepping back to the plank, holding that plank 4 breaths or so. And we'll lower once again to the floor, into a small cobra for a moment. And coming down. And bringing the arms forward into the Sphinx. And then we'll do something similar to what we did before, but we're going to lift all the way up into a forearm plank, or maybe a little higher. So let's tuck those toes under back then. All right, and starting with that same pull of the elbows toward the knees, and then as you lift up, it goes pull of the elbows and the feet. Coming up in doubt, come up a little higher than that forearm plank, maybe with a little round feeling. And then lengthening back down to the plank. Oh, we're going to try that twice more, or maybe not. Okay, so remember, you don't have to hold 4 or 5 breaths up there. You can always come down sooner. All right, here we go. Lifting up, dragging elbows back, knees, then feet forward. And easing yourself down. And once more. I counted to 4 really fast that time. And then we'll be back in the Sphinx. You can untuck the toes. Coming up in a more spacious cobra, maybe moving the placement of the hands. Calming down, taking a couple breaths. And then we will ripple ourselves back up to downward facing dog. And maybe putting in another vinyasa along the way if you want, or not. I'm going to do the or not. All right, here we are, downward facing dog. And let's lift our right leg up again. 3-legged dog, reaching the left heel down, reaching up a little more through the right leg. And through to the lunge. Coming up in the warrior number 1. Virabhadrasana number 1. And then bringing the arms around and interlocking the fingers behind, rolling those shoulders out. And then we'll do the same thing we did in the kneeling lunge. We will bend the arms and take them over to the left hip. Okay. And then releasing the left arm, the right arm's in a half plank. And then just take the hands around to meet in Namaste in the front. And Namaste into the floor. And we'll straighten up our right leg into Parsvottanasana. You can adjust the distance between the feet or grabbing some blocks if you have them. And pouring over that right leg. And then lunging forward, the step back through the vinyasa, any version, downward facing dog. And then we will do that on the left. Lifting the left leg up, three-legged dog, reaching down through the right heel. And through to the lunge, coming up into warrior number one on the left. And bringing your arms down to interlock the fingers, rolling the shoulders out, sliding the hands down the back of the right leg a moment. And then bending the elbows, hands to the right hip, left arm is in a half binding as we take the right arm. And around to Namaste. And Namaste into the floor, straightening up the left leg into Parsvottanasana, adjusting the distance between the feet, getting blocks, whatever you need to do there. Nice strong legs drawing up and then pouring over the left. And then lunging forward, one more vinyasa or not, and downward facing dog. Three deep breaths in downward facing dog. Coming down, sitting back in child's pose. Up, unfurling that spine into simplified Virasana. Shins going back, tops of the thighs through the knees going forward, long through the top of the head. Inhale and exhale. And then let's come down to the floor. And then we will do the nice and simple, drop the knees to the side. Now you can do something different if you would like. Taking those arms out wide to the side, so we'll drop the knees to the left first, which will make a twist to the right in the body and the torso there. Inhale and exhale. Finding a good spot for your body. Two knees can be closer to each other or further away. And surrendering as much as you can to gravity. Coming back to the center, and we'll take the legs over to the right. Inhale and exhale. And coming back to the center, sliding the legs out to straight and into Shavasana. Inhale and exhale, melting into the And then coming back into your body, into the room. Moving the fingers and toes, maybe circling the wrists and ankles. Stretching the arms up overhead. And knees. And gently making your way up to sitting. And sitting in any comfortable position with a long and spacious spine. Taking a few more moments, sitting quietly inside yourself. Namaste. Thank you for coming.